All right, so good evening and welcome again to this very special day, um, which is the 21st of March. So today is Shri Mataji's 99th birth anniversary. So it's a really significant day for all of us, and we are going to be focusing on that tonight as well. So today we'll be looking at the Sahasrara Chakra, the seventh center. And yesterday we focused a little bit on the Agya Chakra, the sixth center, and we had our workshop, which I hope was really good for all of you, and that you got a chance to work on yourself a little more. Um, so tonight, it's my pleasure to introduce our leads. So let's meet them one by one. So let's meet Mark Taylor. You could have.
Hello.
Hey Mark, how are you doing?
Hi, Vivek. Doing very well.
Nice. So, as you all know, probably by now, you've met Mark a few times. You know his passion for bird watching, and that he teaches English to international students. So Mark, have you seen any new birds lately?
Unfortunately not. It's just the familiar crew coming every day, but they're good friends.
Yeah, that's nice. No, because it's spring, like spring begins today, right? So, did you see any robins or something like that come out?
Yeah, we've had the robins. We still have a few of our winter birds, and they'll be having their migration to Canada in a few weeks, but they're still around, our winter visitors.
Oh, okay, that's nice. All right, so we'll talk to Mark more later. Let's move on to our second presenter for tonight, Pooja. So Pooja Srivastav, she has been, is she here? Yes, she is here. All right.
Hello, everyone.
Hi. So she has been practicing Sahaja Yoga for more than 15 years now. And she is an IT manager based on the East Coast. And she has experienced numerous benefits with Sahaja Yoga meditation. So Pooja, could you tell us a little bit about what benefits you have experienced?
I think with such a fast life, of course, in US, not only it has given balance, a time to relax and be in silence, connect within oneself.
Yeah.
And also it has benefited in terms of health and, peace within.
That's nice. That's so nice to hear. Yeah, I mean, especially with the kind of work life that people have these days, it's really important for us to, connect to ourselves and know how to do that. So that's really nice. So we'll also talk to Pooja later during the session. So let's meet Kristine today, who is our live musician for tonight. Is she here? She could come on the spotlight. Kristine, is she here? All right, maybe we can talk to her later then if she's not here. Oh, she's there. All right, that's great.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. You're fine.
Thank
So
you.
Kristine, it's lovely to see you, and she is going to be playing some music for us today. Kristine is one of the very early Sahaja yogis in America, and so we have the honor of having her here tonight. And she has had the opportunity to meet Shri Mataji in person many times. And she has been playing and teaching music professionally for 25 years and is currently employed with a community music school in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So it's really nice to meet you, Kristine. And so what are you going to be playing for us tonight?
Yes, I've selected some music by J.S. Bach,
Yeah.
who's a favorite of mine, and so happens also shares this day at a birthday with Shri Mataji. So I thought that was
well, that's so nice.
So I'll be playing a couple of movements from one of the solo cello suites, but arranged for flute, and then one more movement from a keyboard suite by J.S. Bach.
That's wonderful. We're looking forward to hearing that. Because we've had a lot of Indian classical music, but not really so much Western classical, and it would be really a treat for all of us to listen to you play tonight. So yeah, we're looking forward to that. All right, so we've met all our presenters, and Now, as usual, we take our 2-minute break to prepare for our foot soak, and I'll see you all later on the other side. Bye.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Monday Night Foot Soaking. So I've already got my feet in my bucket of warm salt water. I've got a rinse pitcher and I've got a towel. And so together we're going to sit for about 5 minutes in the water and have a meditation and a little bit of clearing as well. So let's begin with our left hand is down near just below the navel at the sacrum bone. The right hand is above it, and it's going to go down the outside, up the inside. So here we go. We take our left hand up the center of our body. And when we get to the top, we spin our wrists and tie a knot. We do that a second time. And we can tie 2 knots. And a third time. And sometimes you can feel the movement of your own energy, your Kundalini going up the spinal cord as you're doing this. And we'll tie 3 knots. Now we'll give the bandhan or the protection. So that's the left hand on the left hip, up over the top of the head, all the way down to the right hip and back. That's 1. We'll do 7. And now I like to meditate with a photograph of Shri Mataji. So I just put my hands out and rest them on my lap. And I check, am I thinking? Or am I completely quiet inside? So we're learning various techniques over these weeks, how to get above all the thoughts. And we're also kind to ourselves those days when we cannot stop the thinking. So we can rest a hand, let's say the left hand on top of the head. You can feel the weight of that hand. You can stretch the fingertips up a bit, raise the hand up. See if there's any thoughts up there. We can rest our left hand on our lap, place our right hand on top of our head. We can raise our right hand over our head and see if it is as quiet or is it a bit noisier? And what's the temperature in the palm of our right hand and the palm of our left hand? Sometimes it's cool, sometimes it's warm, and sometimes we don't feel anything. We can rest our hands on our lap. And if we have the photograph, we can look at the photograph, or sometimes we meditate with our eyes closed. And sometimes that helps to bring the attention inside. We can notice what we're feeling in our hands. And since I'm feeling my two little fingers, we're learning this week where these are located in our subtle system. That's our heart. So we can put our right hand in the center of our chest, which corresponds to what we call the heart chakra. And we can use the air itself to help soothe and open this center by inhaling, holding the breath, and then releasing. So inhale, take a deep breath, hold it, and let it out. And do that twice more. We can take our right hand, place it on top of our head, bring the hand up in the air, see if things are flowing any stronger or cooler, see if it's any quieter. So we're going to cover various topics tonight. So I'm going to start explaining a little bit about some aspects of Sahaja Yoga. And I'm going to actually rinse my feet and get ready to explain a few things about Sahaja Yoga. And normally we can foot soak for about 5 or 10 minutes. And once you finish, and you've rinsed your feet, dried them off, you may sit and meditate and realize that there is still some more stuff that you would like to clean out of your subtle system. So feel free to pour out your bowl and make a fresh one and do a second foot soak if you feel the need. Maybe it was a really, really hard day and there was a lot of stuff that you simply did not know how you're going to get through it, and it's affecting your ability to meditate. So tonight, we're going to focus on the fact that it is March 21st, 2022, and that on March 21st, 1923, the person who made all this possible, Shri Mataji Nirmala Devi, took her birth. It was a very significant event in the history of spirituality, and she was involved in the struggle for independence of India from the rule of Great Britain. She has said that you cannot really have your spiritual freedom unless you have your political freedom. So the first step in her stepping towards becoming a major spiritual figure in the world was seeing that her country became liberated from being just a colony. And then the other significant date in the life of Shri Mataji is May 5th, 1970. And that was the day that she went to a beach in Nargol, India, and that's where she began Sahaja Yoga. So up to that point in history, people had been trying so hard to get their subtle system to awaken, and they mostly would get stuck here with ritualism and concepts and hierarchies and power structures, and very few people were able to get above that. So after May 5th, 1970, it then became possible for Shri Mataji to simply put her attention on somebody and their Kundalini would come right through, sometimes in a matter of a second. So this was a major evolutionary change in our collective evolution, that we could now attain the state of self-realization by the thousands and by the millions. So after this achievement, Shri Mataji then devoted the rest of her life to visiting as many countries as she could, meeting as many people like you and me as she could in person, and showing them the simple technique of Sahaja Yoga. In 1973, she moved to England, and then she got to meet all of us Westerners and find out what we'd been doing to ourselves, how we'd been really experimenting with lots of seeking, trying different things, trying drugs. And she realized that there were many, many things to be cleared out of us for us to attain and sustain this state of awareness. So she toured all through the world through the 80s, the 90s, and even into the 2000s. Even into her 80s, she still was maintaining an amazingly hectic schedule. I can remember being in airports with Shri Mataji, and she seemed to glide through the airport to get to her plane, and the rest of us were literally jogging to keep up with her. I don't know how she was doing it. And then off she would go to the next country, the next city. And so I was able to spend time with her in India, in Canada, in Italy, and many countries, and see up close what kind of personality she had, just how she worked basically on the heart. And her goal was to open the heart of humanity and get us to then realize the heart is also here. It's beyond all our concepts, all our divisions, all our ideas about how we're separate from each other. So whenever I was close to her, I was just bathed in her love, her sense of that I belonged there, that I wasn't there by some mistake, that in fact I really deserved to receive divine love. And on many occasions, she had gone shopping. And why did she go shopping? To buy gifts for us. And so many times during the time I was in India with her or in other countries, it would be time to line up in front of Shri Mataji, and she would hand you some gift that she had chosen. And many times it was a personal gift for you. And then you had a memento of her love. So today is a very special day for tens of thousands of us around the world to say, thank you, Shri Mataji, for coming on this earth, for creating Sahaja Yoga. To commemorate this very auspicious day, the 99th anniversary of her birth, Shri Mataji did pass away in February of 2011, but she still lives in our hearts. Anyway, to commemorate this amazing occasion, we have something a little bit different, a music video of somebody who is very devoted to their own spiritual ascent and to spreading those vibrations to the world. So let's just keep our hands out and enjoy this piece of music with some video.
21st of March 1923, a baby girl was born in a Christian family. Her mother had spared a tiger in the wild, for she knew she bore a special child. The day came for her to take her birth, and all the angels gathered round the earth. The sun shone bright and the moon that night was radiant in the babe's pure light. Shri Nirmala, mother of the one whom all true prophets declared would come, clothed with the sun and the moon at her feet, she gives the love and the light we seek. She grew up with wisdom's might. She marched for freedom, the people's right. She defied injustice, even torture bore. She came down to end all war. On the 5th day of May 1970, on Argol beach under a sorrow tree, a primordial furnace swirled through her brain. Grace cascaded like torrential rain. Shri Nirmala, mother of the one whom all true prophets declared would come, clothed with the sun and the moon at her feet, she gives the love and the light we seek. She knew the time had come for her to show how love can heal the earth, to comfort and redeem the children of the light. From her hands flowed the breath of life. She traveled the world, the skies and seas. There isn't a people she didn't meet. She bowed to the seekers, even called them by name. One by one they rose like tongues of flame. Shri Nirmala, mother of the one whom all true seekers yearned would come, clothed with the sun and the moon at her feet, she gives the love and the light we seek. Now it's up to us to live in love. No more distinctions of color or caste. Our mother gave birth to a world family, and the world in us must our mother see. Shri Nirmala, mother of the one whom all true prophets declared would come, clothed with the sun and the moon at her feet, she gives the love and the light we seek.
So that was Victor Vertuni, who is an old yogi and a person who writes beautiful songs. So the achievement of Shri Mataji in that moment of May 5th, 1970 was to open this for all mankind. And this is what we're going to talk about tonight now for a few minutes and then meditate at this point. The Sahasrara Chakra, the number 7 chakra on the chart. And so here's a picture of where we find it in our hand. It's in the palms. So when we feel both the palms, that's the Sahasrara. We also can feel sometimes a left and a right aspect. The divine quality of Sahasrara is the complete integration of all those aspects of our evolution, our intellect, our emotions, our spiritual seeking, our sense of belonging. And so what happens when your Sahasrara opens is that you achieve the state of yoga, which is called union or connection. And when you're above all those thoughts, then there's also no doubts, no fears. You can fully feel this energy of divine love. And because there's no thoughts, you enjoy amazing silence and peace. So that's our destination when we sit down to meditate, is that the attention rises above all those limits, the things from the past, all our concerns about the future, and that we are completely in the present. And then as we meditate every day, that opening, that connection continues to expand. And one of the powerful tools we have is our collectivity, is meditating with other people. Then we don't just feel our own individual connection, but we feel that we are together, connected above all our thoughts with this all-pervading power of divine love. Also, you'll notice that many of us are meditating with Shri Mataji's photograph. And there's a really good reason for that. It's because the photograph of Shri Mataji captures her exact physical presence. It's a replica. It's not an interpretation from some artist. And so we can feel the same vibrations as if she was sitting right there before us. So many of us have started Sahaja Yoga with a photograph. Sometimes we're very shy. We don't really feel like using a photograph of somebody. What does that mean? And so what you can try is the experiment that if you want, you can print out the photograph of Shri Mataji, which we'll show you later on the website. And you can try putting your hands towards it, see what you feel. And then take your hands and point them away from the photograph and see what you feel. And you can try meditating, just closing your eyes or looking at the wall, and then try meditating by just having your hands towards the photograph. And so don't take our word for it. See whether it actually helps your meditation. So now let's sit together for a few more minutes and enjoy that state that's above all these thoughts. So we can begin by either having our hands towards the screen and looking at this photograph, which you can see on the screen next to me, or you can also just close your eyes. If our pure desire is to make this a better planet, to give love to the world, to transform all the problems into a humanity that can live in peace, then we recognize that each of us can be a divine instrument, that we can give light to the darkness. And how we achieve that is through our meditation, just simply sitting every day and seeing if we get above all the thoughts. Let's put our hand on our forehead. Yesterday, we talked about the sixth center, this one that's in the brain. This is where our attention can either go straight up to the top of our head, or it can move left into the past, or to the right into the future. We put our hand on top of our head. I want to be completely in reality. I want to be completely in the present. And with the attention in the palm of the right hand, we can guide our attention above all the thoughts, reactions, opinions, and then move our hands slightly forward, back, up and down a little bit. See if we find the place that our intuition says, there's where it is the most silent. This is where I feel that I am connected to the collective unconscious, to a universal power of love. We can try with our left hand. Rest our left hand on top of our head. And no effort required. We're just breathing. The attention is in the palm of our left hand. We now take our left palm up in the air. And many of us have very unsteady attention, especially speaking for myself. So putting the hand here helps to steady the attention. We can move the hand slightly higher, lower. See, we find that place where we know that we're in that state of yoga, of complete silence. And we can rest our hands in our lap. If the thoughts come in, we just watch them. Sometimes they're in the room with us, sometimes they're just outside the room, kind of peeking in, trying to disturb us, and we're just aware of them out there, but they're not actually in our attention. And sometimes there are no thoughts at all. It's like an ocean of peace. Sometimes it even feels like the hand of God is above our head, helping to sustain our attention. We just allow ourselves to enter that state of bliss. In this state of complete silence, when we hear a sound that is designed to keep us in meditation, when we hear a voice that is of an enlightened person, a great saint, you sometimes can even feel the expansion of the attention. You can feel how it sustains and strengthens our attention at the top of our head. So we're going to enjoy live music with Kristine, whose flute music is for us to just expand that state of meditation. And before we listen to the music, we're going to watch a short video of Shri Mataji herself, the one who created Sahaja Yoga. And she's going to remind us, as a good mother will, to do your daily meditation. So let's enjoy with our hands out and feel that love.
Without meditation, you don't understand what is best for you. So today is a day when you have to promise me that you will meditate every night, every evening, maybe in the morning also. Whenever it is possible, if you can go into meditative mood, you are in contact with this divine power. Then whatever is good for you, whatever good for your society, for your country, all is done by this divine power. You don't have to overpower the divine power. You don't have to order, you don't have to ask. Just if you meditate, you are one with this all-pervading power, which is another great blessings to us. Unless and until your Sahasrara is open, all the blessings of the divine power cannot come to you. Cannot. Maybe you might get some money, you might get some jobs, you might get this and that. But your own development is only possible when you meditate and your Sahasrara is completely open and open to truth. Now the truth is that this divine power is compassion, is love. This is the truth. They say God is love, God is truth. So the equation has to be made that truth is love and love is truth. But it's not a truth that as you have for your own children, you have for your family. Attached love is not truth. If you are attached to somebody, then you never see the bad points of that person. If you are angry with somebody, then you can never see the good points of that person. But it's a complete detached love. And that love is extremely powerful. Because whenever you project that love to anyone, you will be surprised. The problems of that person will be solved. His personality will improve. Everything will work out in a very big way and his life will be changed. But if you are attached to anything whatsoever, that attachment itself causes problems and doesn't allow Sahaj to grow. This attachment could be any kind. For example, you can be attached to your country, attached to your society, attached to your family. It can be of any kind. But when Sahasrara is open, you learn one thing is detachment. It just happens that you get detached. Though, you are not running away. As it is in Sahaja Yoga, we don't believe in people who run away from society and go to Himalayas, or that I call it as escapism. That is not the point. What happens is that you are there. You see everyone, you watch everyone, you know everyone, you are close to everyone, but you are a detached person. It's a state of mind that you achieve when Sahasrara is open. Then that state you you are dealing with people, you are dealing with problems, you are dealing with situations, but you are not involved in it. There's no involvement. And that involvement which you had before can never give a complete insight what is happening, what is the truth is about any situation. So this detachment helps. The greatest thing of the detachment is that you are not affected. No use saying that, oh, you are not affected, mother, so how can you feel for another person? How can you have compassion for another person? Because if you feel for another person, then only you can solve the problem. But this feeling that you have is again a kind of an attachment. It is not a real feeling because it doesn't help. The person is crying, you are also crying. The person is trouble, you are also in trouble. And this does not help that person, nor will it help you. So to have detached in no way means you do not feel the another person. You do feel. You feel the agony of that person, the trouble of that person, of the whole society sometimes, and of the whole country. But that your feeling is so detached that the all-pervading power takes over. First, we must have full faith in the capability of this all-pervading power. As soon as you are detached, you say, you do it. Finished. Once you say that you are going to do it, it's you who is going to do it. Whole thing changes completely because you transfer all your responsibilities, all your problems to this divine power which is so powerful, which is so capable, which can work out anything. So whenever you think that this problem you are going to solve, you are the one who is going to do it, then all right, the divine power says, all right, try your luck. But if you can really put this problem to the divine power, it will work out.
Thank you, Kristine, for such a blissful flute music. It completely made us thoughtless, and I'm sure everyone is feeling that bliss within themselves.
My pleasure.
So, as my friend Mark shared, that the Sahasrara, which is the final energy center in our subtle system, consists of 1,000 petals. Each of our energy centers are connected to the Sahasrara. So without wasting much of our time, let's bring both of our hands near our heart and close our eyes. Let's ask for oneness with this divine, with the power within ourselves. Let's ask our mother energy, please give me complete satisfaction, joy and bliss in my heart. Give me love that I love everyone, the entire world, so that it becomes one in love. Cleanse me with thy love. This seeking has to be from within. So let's, with our complete surrendering of our thoughts, let's place our left hand on the lap and right hand towards Mother Earth. You can either look at Shri Mataji's picture or you can close your eyes, whichever makes you comfortable. Keep your attention completely focused on the center of the palm. And with just one desire, Mother Energy, please cleanse my entire left channel. Let all the impure desires, all that is blocking my spiritual ascent, be removed from the left channel. You can bring your right hand on the lap, left hand towards ether element. Let's keep your attention on both the palms, the center of the palm and top of the Sahasrara, the fontanel bone area. Let's surrender our thoughts. Let all the worries, all the heat, any heaviness existing in the right channel, Mother Energy, please take it away. Let me feel the coolness, the calmness within. Let all my actions lead to oneness with this power of love, with this power of divine. Bring both of our hands towards Mother Earth. You can bring your palms down, facing Mother Earth. Let's humble down in our heart, touching Mother Earth. Please give me humility and the power of forgiveness, the way you forgive us as we walk upon you. Let's bring both of your hands closer to the heart and take a moment to pay attention to each of the channel, both the palms, and see if you're feeling any hot or cool or heaviness. Keep your right hand on the left heart. And just ask, I am just a pure spirit. I am not this body. I am not this mind. I am just a pure spirit. Let this spirit shine in my attention. You can keep your right hand on the left side, but joining the groin area, which is the left Swadhisthana, keeping the left palm towards Shri Mataji. Please give me pure knowledge, knowledge that can help me to understand my own subtle system. So the seeking has to be within. Let me truly understand what my powers are. Place your right hand on the left side of the neck area and rotate your neck towards the right side. And just say, I am not guilty as I am the pure spirit. I am not guilty at all. I am just a pure spirit. Put your right hand on the forehead and just say, I let go all my conditionings. I want to be in reality. Forgive me if I have done any mistakes. And forgive all those who have done harm against us. Bring your hands on the top of the Sahasrara. Press it hard. Bow down your head a little bit. Left hand on the lap. And please ask, pray your mother energy. Please give me my self-realization. Let me feel the oneness with you. Rotate it clockwise 7 times. And slowly bring your hands up. You can do the same thing with the left hand and bring it on the top of the head. Keep the hands in a comfortable position. Enjoy this thoughtlessness with just one prayer, one seeking, that I want to feel the oneness with you, O Divine, the power of our Mother Energy. Bring your attention a little bit higher than the Sahasrara on the top of the head. Just enjoy this silence with the focus on center of both the palms and the top of the head. Slowly open your eyes. We can convey our gratitude, our thanks to Shri Mataji, who has given us the self-realization, the process of awakening the mother energy, which has never happened in history. So from the bottom of our heart, if you have experienced the peace within, you could just thank from the heart to Shri Mataji. And with the desire to meditate further, to know about ourselves, let's raise our mother energy and take a bandhan. So the way Mark has shared, Keep your left hand steady and the right hand will go on the top. And we'll take the first, we'll do it the second time. Tie the knot 2 times. Again, raise the energy for the third time. Let's tie it for the 3 times. With the right hand making like a rainbow. This is to protect ourselves with this divine energy, the vibrations. Enveloping us completely as we take and encircle our 7 energy centers. Over to you, Vivek. Thank you so much.
So, thank you so much, Pooja, for that wonderful meditation. Today, let us go over our usual resources. So, if we could pull up the slide. So, as usual, we'll have the website and the WhatsApp group, the link for them put up in the chat so you can visit them. I would also like to go over the website again today because we still need to show you some things. So in the website, we try to make it a little easier for you to access all these materials. So if you click on, you need to scroll a little bit towards the bottom and click on See All Resources. And if you expand that tab, you can go to Daily Session Handouts. And we have the handouts for each day. And if we could go to Shri Mataji's photograph. In case you still haven't had a chance to print it out, I would highly recommend that you do so. And as Mark suggested, experiment and see how it improves your meditation. Personally, I have found it tremendously beneficial. Like the difference is astronomical when you meditate with the photograph and without. So do try it. And if you do print the photograph, please ensure that you use a wooden or a metal frame and preferably a glass panel to cover the photograph. And please keep it in a place where you can have a proper meditation space in your house. You know best where to keep it. I would not make any further recommendations. So let's move on downwards till we get to day 17, which is today's Sahasrara Chakra handout is already there. Again, I would stress that you please download all these handouts, and you may, if you want, you can print it, but at least have it somewhere on your computer where you can access it easily, because when you have doubts and questions, and that you may find these to be very helpful in that situation. All right, so let us now look at what we are going to be doing tomorrow. So tomorrow we are going to be focusing more on the Agya Chakra, the 6th center here, because we did a little bit yesterday, but we still have to cover more about it tomorrow through our meditation. So it's going to be really great to help improve our state of thoughtless awareness by meditating on this Agya Chakra. All right. So let us now go on to the next slide. Yes. So if again you speak Spanish and would like to avail of our Spanish-speaking meditators, please let us know in the chat and someone will assign you to the Spanish breakout room. So today we won't be having our usual feedback session. We won't be taking questions today. mainly because the meditation itself was on the Sahasrara Chakra, which is beyond thought. And at that point, it's encouraged not to engage your mind too much. But we understand you may still have questions, you may still have doubts to get resolved, you may still have things to discuss. If that is the case, please let us know in the chat. We will again assign you to a breakout room, and you can go there and someone will be more than willing to help you out. I do not mean to say that your questions are not important. They are very much for us. But just tonight, we have something special planned. Um, so, in lieu of the question and answer session, what we are going to be doing tonight is having all of our leads on the spotlight, and they are going to be sharing with us their experiences of meeting Shri Mataji, of being with her, and just telling us some wonderful stories. So uh, it's a good way to really commemorate Shri Mataji's presence on this earth. So I would humbly request the leads to be put on spotlight. And while that is being done, so we have finalized our plans for the intermediate course, which is going to be the next step after the 21 days of this beginner course is done. So the details of that we will be announcing tomorrow. So stay tuned. Do attend tomorrow, and we will let you know about the details of the intermediate course. So we're not just going to leave you in the lurch. There is a next step that comes after this, and we're all looking forward to having as many of you as possible join in for the intermediate session as well. Okay, great. So with all that out of the way, we can get to the more interesting part of the evening now. So we have Mark and Linda who are going to be joining us, and then we have Kristine and Pooja as well. And so all of them are going to be sharing some beautiful experiences, and I hope all of us can enjoy. So because in my understanding, Kristine here is the older Sahaja Yogi, in the sense that she started Sahaja Yoga in America way before any of us here did. So Kristine, would you like to share something about Shri Mataji, how you met her, what was your experience of her, and other things like that?
Sure. Thank you. I'll just tell you how I got introduced to Sahaja Yoga, since that, as you say, was a few years ago. I actually had my husband was, I met him at that time, and he had encountered Sahaja Yoga and met Shri Mataji because he lived in England. And when he came, actually, he came to the Boston area, which is where I'm from, and went to school at a local college here, and that's how we met. And I could actually tell that when I met him that he was kind of a really different category of person to begin with. And we got to talking about Sahaja Yoga, and it was all not something that I would necessarily have sought out myself, but I really felt like he had something special going on. So um, we decided that we would, in my case, I felt like, well, I would really like to meet this person in face to face, because I felt like that would really make all the difference for me to kind of assess whether this was something, that made sense to me. And so we were getting ready to plan a trip to England, and called on the phone to sort of find out where, as we said before, she did a lot of traveling to make sure that she's going to actually be in England, or where she was residing at that time, before we go there. And lo and behold, we found out that she was planning a trip to America that fall. So we sent a telegram and invited her to make a trip up to Boston as well from New York, and that we would like to host her and plan a program, which we did. And she came to Boston for an overnight. And for me, this was really my first experience of any of Sahaja Yoga, including the meditation, besides what had been described to be by my husband. And we met her at the airport, and I remember thinking, she's just a normal person. I was kind of, I don't know what I was expecting, but I was feeling very, in that moment, I was feeling kind of nervous and everything. And she made her way back actually to my apartment, which at that time, we were very young and it was really just a rooming house, very humble circumstances. And she made her way up, to the apartment. And when I entered the room, she was working on Stephen's, my husband's vibrations. And I don't know how much we've done in terms of working on other people. Like we've worked on ourselves, but I don't know how much we've done or how much we've seen the way in which Shri Mataji herself will spend time or has spent a lot of time with individual seekers, working on their vibrations, feeling, their chakras, feeling their subtle centers, and giving them personal attention in this way. So she was actually doing this when I came in the room, and I just took a seat in the back, to sort of see what's going on here. And as I was sitting there, I kind of crossed my hands like this, and for the first time, this cool breeze that had been described to me, just without me doing anything, without me trying, without me thinking about it, I just started to feel it. And because it was so like, I had put no effort into it, I hadn't even really sat down and said, oh, now I'm going to meditate. It was just so spontaneous that really made an impression on me. And also, of course, the fact that Shri Mataji, her whole personality had changed at that point. When I met her, I felt like, oh, she's just a normal person. But when she was in this mode where she was working on the vibrations, she became a whole, just a much larger personality. And, the things that struck me as her, incredible generosity. She worked on Steve for at least half an hour, and then she said, now let's see Kristine. And I sat down in front of her, and then she worked on me and asked me questions about my family and, about my career and just so much personal attention and so much detail. And really, I just felt, as I sat there, I felt like I'd known this person forever in a way, and that she'd known me forever too. So, that was my introduction, really my introduction to Sahaja Yoga and to Shri Mataji. And, really my whole life changed from that point, because I just knew that, what had been suggested to me, through little references, had just been totally proved to me, and in a very quick period of time. And of course, after that, there still was a lot of growth that had to take place, and I had to sort of go back to the drawing board and everything like that. But I remember it, and there's lots more I could tell about that particular day, because I remember it in detail. But I think, hopefully I've given you the essence of what that experience was like and how remarkable it was. And so
that's so wonderful to hear, because at least for us nowadays, Shri Mataji is only on video, right? At least I haven't had the chance to interact with her in person.
mm-hmm.
And so to hear from someone that you saw her as a normal person to begin with, and then you mentioned something interesting, that you said that she became like a different personality altogether when the Sahaja Yoga programs were going on. And could you speak a little more about that, what that felt like?
About how she became a different person.
How you felt she became like a different personality.
I mean, she had, my experience with her, which is not that extensive really compared to many other people, but the times that I was able to be in her company, I mean, she just was very responsive to the people that she was with. And I sort of felt like that moment when I met her in the airport, I probably wasn't ready to like kind of really truly understand who I was meeting, or what I was getting into. And so she sort of at that moment was just just sweet and just like a grandmotherly person, but in the moments when she started working on our vibrations and working on our subtle system, the way we work on ourselves, or the way we can also work on others, which again, I don't know if we've gotten into that. It took on a whole other dimension. She took on a whole other dimension, and she had a tremendous authority about it as well. Not in any kind of a harsh way, but and that you can see that also, definitely, I think you can see that in the videos of public programs.
Definitely.
That she takes, you really see that authority. But when you're just kind of with her, like you're riding in the car or something like that, I mean, she's just so motherly. She's just so accessible, such an accessible person, and very gracious. I mean, we were hosting her, and just I don't even want to tell you what it was. We didn't even. It wasn't even really an apartment, because the bathroom was down the hall, and there was a kitchen in the basement, and it was. But she was so gracious about being there. And the minute she walked into the room, she said, "Oh, this is so nice." That we had a big window, some light was streaming in. I mean, it was just so, it was so minimal, but she was very, very gracious about it, and I felt like she's just so perceptive about, our point of view and our situation. So, and there was a program, we did have a program that night, and it was attended by not that many people, about 40 people. But because it had all been arranged very last minute, again, I was feeling like having a really tremendous experience. And, when she got back from the program, she just was saying, "I'm so happy that I came here, because this is like, I think it was, it was sparking some, it was planting a seed. It was planting a seed. So, and certainly it did, and it did blossom. And, yeah.
So, yeah,
Your
that's
question.
amazing.
I don't know if that really answers your question.
No, it does. It does. Whatever you can share is more is very interesting for us. So, could you tell us a little bit more? You said you were in Boston at that time, so I'm assuming you helped start Sahaja Yoga in Boston in the 80s. So, could you tell us a little bit about how that experience was for you?
Yeah, so it was a slow start. I mean, the next day we had a little workshop, so there were a few people that came from the program to the workshop. But my husband was still a student, and I was working outside the city, so we didn't even. I mean, to be honest, we were not yet husband and wife at that point. So we had to establish. We got married that year, and we had to establish our household. And then once we were able to do that, we started giving. Programs. We started advertising programs. And again, in those days, it was really no internet. There was no Facebook. It's just basically you put up posters, around, and if you could afford it, you put some advertisements in newspapers, and we started very, very slowly, but bit by bit. So that was 1981. I think the next real milestone for us was 1983, because in 1983, Shri Mataji came back to America and really took a very, very extensive tour all across the United States.
Mhm.
In 81, I think she was been based mostly in New York. I think maybe she went to Toronto in 81. Does that sound right?
There is a whole lecture series actually, starting from Boston all the way down the East Coast, then to Texas, and then California. So
that was the
it was a whole circuit. 81. I should look through those videos. Maybe I can spot you there somewhere in the crowd.
Not me. Maybe my husband. You might spot him, because I think he was, giving little intros and doing things like that, and some of the Boston programs. But yeah, that was a very extensive tour, and she spent almost a week then in Boston. And by that time, we had collected a few people who decided that they wanted to share a household, sort of as as an ashram.
Oh, I see.
An ashram that we would that we could share this lifestyle of meditating and running programs and things like that, which was recommended that's a good way to really establish ourselves. And so it was about 6 of us or so, and
Oh, wow.
we just I know it's just, again, baby steps, but
Yeah.
everything's significant. And then she came to that location and spent about a week with us there. We had 3 programs in Boston, so that was also very special, because it's such small numbers, so you're just sort of in the living room with Shri Mataji, and Yeah, so that's special. I mean, it's great to be in her presence or in her company, no matter what the numbers. But if you're just one of 10 people, and she's helping you cook dinner or doing something like that, it's very.
I hear Shri Mataji was a very an expert cook, and people would praise her cooking. So, have you had a chance to sample some of her cooking?
Yes, it was very good. But I mean, we had limited facilities and we had sort of
Right.
limited ingredients and everything. And she was really helping us cook was what was happening.
I see.
And yeah.
I know it must have been strange for
I
all
don't
the
know here,
Indian
but
cuisine to come over to.
sorry?
I'm sorry. She primarily might have cooked Indian food, right? And so it might have
Yeah,
been.
she cooked a chole that night.
Oh, I see.
I remember that. It was a chickpea and some ingredients. I don't remember all the ingredients. I don't think I could do that, but yeah, I do remember that we were all very nervous in the kitchen and because mother was there. At least I was. Yeah. So, but she was just so gracious and loving about it, very patient, and we all enjoyed her cooking very much.
So for those who don't know, chole is like an Indian dish with chickpeas and gravy, with like spices and stuff. And so Linda had something to share at this point.
I just wanted, I have a chole story about Shri Mataji.
Please, we would love to listen to it.
So one year, it was, I think in 1990, Shri Mataji went to Florida, South Florida, and I was lucky enough to go there, but there were very few of us hosting her there in a small house. And the person who was supposed to come and cook Indian food for her couldn't come. So I got nominated to do it. And I barely knew how to cook. I could make dal. So I asked for a recipe from an Indian Sahaja yogi, and he gave me this really complicated recipe. And in this apartment, the bedroom where Shri Mataji was staying, she could look out and see me in this very small kitchen. She could literally see me, and she could see that I was looking at the recipe, trying to cook, looking at the recipe, like in very painstaking way. And so she called me in to see her, and she said, so just get a pen and paper, and I actually had it. So she told me very simply how to make chole, like in 10 easy steps. So I made it.
Share it with us now.
Well, I will. Yes, I can put it in the website somewhere. It's like, yes. And so she gave me 10 easy steps. And so I made it. And then she liked it. And when afterwards, after she had her meal, I went in and she said, I mean, this is a beautiful example of how she was not only so motherly and patient and really just relaxed me. I was so tense about this cooking for her. And so she made it simple. And then afterwards she said, yes, it was very good. And next time, this is where she's also a teacher, she gave me a small assignment. And then she said, and next time you can add these more things and you can add these more steps. So it was so beautiful.
All right. So now we moved from 1981 to 1982, which is when Linda, you were introduced to Sahaja Yoga, right? So if you could talk a little bit about that.
Well, actually, Mark got his self-realization in 81.
81. Okay, so Mark goes first. All right.
All right. So after Shri Mataji had her program in Boston on the East Coast in 81, she then had programs in Texas and in California. Mm-hmm. And while she was in California, she said, let's have a program in Canada. So there was a person on the tour who called up to his brother, and the brother organized a program, put an ad in the paper, and there was a small program in a high school in Vancouver, Canada. Mm-hmm. And it seems like about 50 people came to that program. And then Shri Mataji left Canada, continued with her tour of the United States. And there was, of course, a need for someone to stay in Canada and, as Kristine was doing in Boston, sort of get something started, do follow-ups, meet the seekers. So a lady from Australia came to Canada in Vancouver, and she was looking for a place to live. And guess whose house she moved into? My house.
Nice.
And just before she had moved in, two other people moved in. So there were the four of us. And one by one, she told us yoga and she showed us how to meditate. And so in December of 1981, I finally went, well, if you guys are all doing it, I guess I'll try it too.
Did they also have a 21 days program?
So then a few weeks later, with no knowledge of Sahaja Yoga, basically I'd seen a photograph of Shri Mataji and that had been about it. I went to India with these other three people and met Shri Mataji in person for the first time.
And how was that meeting?
It was at the end of a public program in Mumbai, and it was called Bombay in those days.
Mhm.
So we managed to get there near the end. And so we went up on the stage where Shri Mataji was sitting, and we were watching what people were doing when they approached her. So I was told, now, introduce yourself, who you are, where you're from. And then I was watching what people were doing. And what they were doing is they were coming up to her and they were greeting her in the tradition of greeting a great guru or saint in India. So they were going, what we say, to her feet. And you ask that, the thing you want to do in India when there's a great saint is you want to touch their feet. It's considered extremely auspicious thing to do.
That's the culture there, yeah.
So what people were doing is they were going to her feet. And so that's what I did too. And so there was her left foot and her right foot. So this other guy from Canada was at her right foot. I was at her left foot. So I put my hands on the stage with the palms up, my two hands together. She lifted up her left foot, and she placed it on my two palms of my hands. And then she said, for some people, it takes a long time.
Was that a hint or?
And that was exactly correct, because it's taken me a long time.
I see.
And then I spent the next 3 months being with Shri Mataji almost every day in India and in England, and just seeing up close what pure compassion is and infinite patience. And I had my notebook with me. I was a very intellectual guy. So she'd be speaking at a seminar in India and I'd be taking notes. And one day she looked over at me and she said, "Oh, you're taking notes. Good idea." So I learned.
Do you still have those notes with you?
Yes, when are you going to?
Yeah,
Yes,
you need to publish those.
Yeah, the first 3 years of notes I don't have, but then after that I have, a lot of notes. Yes. So anyway, but she accessed my heart through my intellect. She knew I was a egghead. I had read about 10 books a month on how to make yourself a better person. And so then I came to India and it was like time for this to have a little rest. So she worked through my logic. She talked about truth and I was into truth. She didn't talk about God because I was not into God, but I was definitely into truth. And then just spending time with her. And finally, one day in India, after I'd been there for maybe a month or so, she had us all sit around her, about 90 of us that had come from different countries in the West, United States, Canada, Switzerland, Australia, England. And so she meditated with us together. So we simply sat there, we closed our eyes. And then I could feel for the first time in my life that I was no longer just me, alone, isolated. It was no longer just me over here and somebody else over there. And what I experienced was the most profound experience of being part of a larger whole. And there was something happening here, which was so blissful, so amazing, that I had only one thought: don't stop. And it was overwhelming. The only way I could describe it was that every cell in my body was saying, good. And so that went on for some time, just feeling that Shri Mataji's attention was my attention. There was no separation. It was like that true state of union or yoga. And so then that was it for this lifetime. Once I had that knowledge, that knowing, that certainty that I can be connected to the divine, then that was it. Then it's like, okay, how many people can you tell about this? How many posters can you put up to say, do you want to feel this good? And so that became, what we did. I got to spend a month in England with Shri Mataji, got to see her don her other role in life, which was a diplomat's wife. So wearing heavy coats, navigating London, attended a public program in Caxton Hall, London, with Shri Mataji there, giving one of her programs that she gave in the 80s, and visiting ashrams and seeing how they cooked things like chole. And then, like with Kristine, Shri Mataji returned for a major tour of America in 1983. And when she came to Vancouver, I pretended I was a new person. I wanted Shri Mataji to work on me the way she had done Kristine and her husband. So I sat at the back very patiently. Shri Mataji's going to walk up to me. She's going to work on me. And somebody who knew me said, he's been to India, Shri Mataji. It was like, and then, so she did a public program, and she invited everybody at the public program to come to the ashram the next day for lunch. So a few people came, and who cooked the lunch? Shri Mataji cooked the lunch.
Wow.
She cooked chole, and I have photographs of her in the kitchen cooking. So it was an amazing time to be discovering something called Sahaja Yoga and an amazing person called Shri Mataji, Nirmala Devi.
Wow. And we'll come back to all of your points, but let me just go through the panel so that we get to cover everyone. So Linda, you get to go next.
So here comes the cool part. When I was on my way to India, I stopped in England and I met two people in England. And one of them turned out to be Linda's sister.
Oh, okay. Nice.
And that was in 1982. I was coming back from Hong Kong where I was working. I also, English as a second language in that field, and was running a program there, came back through England and where my sister was. And that's where I first found out about Sahaja Yoga, but Mark was there at the same time, but we didn't meet each other, but later we got married. So my journey was, I found out about Sahaja Yoga, and I felt something had changed inside me then, but I really was very focused on my career at the time. And so it wasn't until about a year and a half later that I realized that I was seeking something more spiritually, and I wasn't finding it anywhere else. And so I went back to my sister, who thought I just didn't really care about it or want it. But, I said, no, I want it now. So, I was traveling, and they were in San Francisco. They had come to the US at that point. And I'll maybe just tell the story, because I feel I actually did get my realization that time in 82, but and as I said, it was working within me, but I wasn't really meditating. But then about a year and a half later, when I went to them and said, now I want it, and I just saw a video of Shri Mataji actually, but I felt that night I had a dream after I had the experience, when I really realized it and felt it. And I had a dream that there were men at work all up my spine on all the chakras, like busily working to clear out all the stuff there that needed to be cleared. So that was yes, my early experiences. Then the first time I met Shri Mataji was in 84 in New Jersey. And it's actually about 5 minutes from where we live now. It was an event that I was very eager to meet her at that point, because I had been meditating. And so when I went, each person there were about 80 people, we all got up, were able to go up and to the stage and meet her. And so when I went there, actually, again, my sister and brother-in-law started introducing me, and something about that I was some kind of, that had a master's degree or some kind of credential like this, which for Shri Mataji is like not that important. And anyway, she said, then I went there and I put my hands, and it was such a beautiful moment. She took my hands in her hands. She put them over my hands and she brought them in between her knees.
Mm-hmm.
And she looked at me and she said, "I found you."
Wow.
So it was just, I felt so, actually at that moment, I felt that really, I felt, no, Shri Mataji, I found you. And it was so, but I feel that that's something that all of us who find Sahaja Yoga, that she was looking and still is finding all of us who have this deep seeking from lifetimes. And that, you know, she knows us, she knows our spirit, she knows, as Kristine was saying, she knows us better than we do in so many ways. I had many opportunities to interact with her and just always felt that she was, not only did she know exactly how to make me feel encouraged and keep going in my seeking, I mean, I actually had found her. I stopped seeking when I found Sahaja Yoga, but I kept trying to ascend higher and still am. You know, I'll just share one more story real quick.
Please.
One of the, you know, as we grow in Sahaja Yoga, we feel more and more of our chakras. You know, my first minute work, they had a lot of work to do initially, but then there are certain chakras that, for example, here in this country, especially this Vishuddhi chakra, is often a challenge for us. And I always was working on my Vishuddhi and never felt that it would really clear. Mm-hmm. And so one year I went to India numerous times, actually, on these tours that she would organize. One time I had the great honor to be in her room with her after this event, and where I was able to massage her legs. And when you touch her, she's just pouring with these vibrations, pouring. And like Kristine said, the cool breeze is just like, it's just surrounding the whole, it's filling the room and filling you up. So there I was massaging her leg, and as I was doing this, I just felt that all of a sudden I could swing my neck around as if there were no muscles. It was just free. I never felt such a clear and lightness on my clarity and lightness on my Vishuddhi. So it was a moment that I always treasure. It was really very special.
Wow, that's beautiful. So, Pooja, would you like to share your experience of Sahaja Yoga and how you came into Shri Mataji's grace?
You know, I'm lucky to find Sahaja Yoga. Of course, I couldn't get a chance to interact with Shri Mataji very closely. So I have always been a very logical person, primarily because of studies, being in IT, mathematics, and whatever. Maybe my ego or super ego. So, however, I was always seeking. So somewhere around in 2000, I got realization through my sister, who introduced me to Sahaja Yoga. And it took me 5-6 years where I kept completely denying that I don't want to get into this, process of getting into the false gurus or somebody who can charge or take money. So she shared there is no money involved. At least try, go and meditate. So when I came to US in 2007, I went and started doing meditation and started listening to Shri Mataji's often and meditating, with a collective. And I met very beautiful yogis, very humble, down to heart. They do not have anything, very lavish homes or lavish things or something, but it was all their heart, all their love, which completely transformed me. It gave me so much peace, so much bliss. I started enjoying, and I started looking forward to doing meditation on a weekly basis. And the more and more I started meditating, I felt like, why did I not find it earlier? My life would have been much more better. I would have not been frantically, getting tensed, unnecessarily driving out and trying to get there when things are already around me. So since last 15 years, and I would say that it's a slow transformation, and the love I have got from all the yogis, I think that is just beyond explanation. One have to really try doing it to understand what we are talking about. I mean, there is no money involved. We are all doing what we have benefited from Sahaja Yoga. So this is all the joy, and and there are so many things. I mean, the benefits if I start counting, I cannot even share how many on a daily basis that we, that we get that power, that we get that blessings. So meditating in the morning or in early in the morning, I think that gives such a tremendous power or energy that after even having 2 children or having a job and doing all the 70 miles, 80 miles of drive every day, it always kept me going. And people used to ask me, what is it that gives you that energy? And I always shared, hey, there is nothing else besides meditation. What is what I'm doing? So to all of you who are looking out, or who are looking for the peace, I would say, please try. And I am blessed to be in the company of these great yogis who are sharing their experiences, because if you truly understand vibrations and open it, you will start feeling that complete thoughtlessness. So thank you so much.
That's wonderful. And the dynamism you mentioned, I mean, we experience it on a daily basis as a fraction, maybe like a minuscule amount of what dynamism Shri Mataji herself had. Because although I did never met her, but reading about like accounts of her and the way she traveled around the world, I believe in 1990, she was like at the peak of her traveling experience, I would say. And in 1 year, she covered an equivalent distance of 3 times around the globe. That's how they have measured it. I was just amazed that how can a person do that in 1 year? It's just not possible. But she was the ultimate like master of the entire thing. And so, and talking about trips, these India trips used to be really, really big things back in the day, I'm told. So if any of you could tell us what it felt like and how your experience as someone who's not from India, going to India, not to the cities, but like to the heart of India and like working on the spiritual part of things. How was that? And how Shri Mataji's company felt for you in that time? If any one of you could.
I can share. I went, well, actually, just the very first year that that same year that I met Shri Mataji, I went to India and stayed for a month, and then went about 15 more times, actually. I really, really benefited from those tours.
Did you ever consider getting an Indian citizenship? Just joking. Please go ahead.
Well, it was such a powerful experience. Everything was arranged. So we could just not, our food was provided. It was, we would travel around in these old buses, STD buses, if and it was very rustic. And it was so very rustic. We stayed in these empty buildings or out in the countryside and these, kind of makeshift camps. But the Indian hosts, the Sahaja yogis in India, were so gracious and welcomed us each place we went. What we saw Shri Mataji every other day at least, if not every day. And she was giving programs where we would also go. We had, deeper events with her. And it was really a kind of, there were hours and hours where we go on these buses, but where we, and in these go to very holy places, but mostly it was the experience of completely getting in touch with our spirit and with our own spiritual growth in the company of so many others who were doing the same thing. So I have friends from all over the world. We could travel tomorrow and just never stay in a hotel because we still have these friends from 40 years ago. And it always felt that whoever I was talking to was telling me something I had to know just then at that moment, or whatever Shri Mataji was saying or whatever I was experiencing. It was very deep, and really each year I went back and felt I was working on something completely different each time. I mean, physically, I was doing a lot of clearing, very uncomfortable physically, but my spirit was so happy. And my throat, actually, I could hardly talk half the time because I always had a sore throat and a cold and coughing, and it was just clearing out until eventually, I mean, it got cleared out enough that I do sing. And it really changed my voice. So it was just a whole lot of inner work that it's almost impossible to describe the effect, but literally we could feel it very deeply.
I think that if I can just spot in here for a
Please,
second,
please, please.
the thing that we learned was that, and I remember Shri Mataji actually saying this to us directly and saying, recommending going to India, because she said that the quality of the country, she said, it gives your Kundalini a lift. It gives you this lift. There's something particular, like every country has its strength, which is also its weakness, as it turns out. If you start to look at things globally, which you absolutely do when you go to India, because you meet people from all these different countries, and you start to realize, just how big this family is. But by going to India, you get this. This lift is just the best way to you get this sort of propulsion just by being in India, because of the nature of the land and because of this, the spirituality and the vocabulary. You could almost say, I don't know how else to explain it in a way, just to say that they have the vocabulary to identify, and that's one reason why I think in Sahaja Yoga that we use that vocabulary, even though this is a very universal knowledge. We use the vocabulary of, Indian mysticism and everything because they have the words for it, where we don't have the words for it. But our trip, I know that I was on one of those same tours with Linda. And physically it was just so it was just it was very challenging. It could be very challenging, but it was adventure. It was an adventure. And again, this side of it that I just wanted to mention is that, people from Italy, you're meeting a whole bunch of people from Australia, never mind you're meeting all these wonderful Indians, you're meeting people from just all over the world. And, and you're from Boston, where you have maybe 6 people living in an ashram, and suddenly you realize that there's this, it's penetrated into all these different parts of the world, and that there's this worldwide shared experience, the shared experience that, everyone is there because they've had this direct experience of the meditation, of the vibrations. There's no other reason that they would be there. Maybe 1 or 2 maybe found themselves there and really shouldn't have been there. But on the whole, and finding that camaraderie and that brotherhood and sisterhood in that place, in that far-fetched place, you could say. And I remember this one experience was so beautiful to me. It was one of the nights, it was one of the first nights that we got there in Mumbai, and a big assemblage of Indian Sahaja yogis were there to meet us. And we were kind of out on a tarmac or in a parking lot or something, not any place you would think is very special. But this woman came up to me, we didn't speak the same language, but we'd namaste to each other. And she took her hand and she opened her hands, and I opened my hands, and she just literally like she was pouring water into my hands. And I just felt so many vibrations coming into my hands from that gesture of hers. And this is the language we were speaking. This was the common language we had, was of these vibrations. And that's what you get from being in India. Now, for me, I was distracted, and Linda, I give you all the credit, because I was so distracted by, the physicality, and my sandals kept breaking, and, whatever clearing out was going on, and I lost my sleeping bag, or I lost my luggage or something, all of those dramas that take place. But when I got back to America, that's when I could see that I'd changed. And, I had to go through that experience. And then I knew when I got back, I just I knew I was a different person. And then subsequent times when I went to India, I didn't been 15 times, but on the next trip, I knew that I had changed in the meantime in America, because when I'm experiencing India in a different way,
Mhm.
experiencing the tour, experiencing that adventure, and that, also just tremendous, just beautiful experience. The country itself is so beautiful, and all of the sites, all of those kind of just on the superficial level, but of course, the depth that you're able to achieve, that you don't even really realize. You don't realize how much you're working out, how much I wouldn't even say achieve, because achieve sounds like something that you do yourself. It's just that you're given, you're gifted,
Mhm.
it's a gift that you receive. So
Wow, that's so amazing. And India is a challenge at the best of times. Like, I am Indian and I find India challenging. So I can't even I can't even imagine
it's always
back in the 80s. I mean, now it's much better, as you say, like the physical side of India, although the spiritual side is another dimension by itself. But in the 80s, it must have been really difficult. I, I don't know how the culture might have looked to you. It must have looked very strange, coming from like USA going to India. Was it that way, or how did you feel? Um,
I mean, yes, there was a culture shock element to it,
mm,
but that didn't last very long. And the thing, and as Linda was saying, you go out into the villages and out into the countryside. We didn't spend a lot of time in the cities, although the cities were nice too. With some shopping and all of just amazing. I mean, it's such a rich culture, and
mhm.
you had to have some maturity to be able to really appreciate that, but you gained that. You gained that
Yeah,
awareness. You started to see what is the real value. Is not just on the surface. You have to sort of look much deeper. And of course, Shri Mataji was always there to help us along with that. And
yeah.
she was there for us. She was there for the Indians, but she was also there for us. And you know, um, she was always helping us to really get the most out of the experience.
Yeah, I'm told she was, especially when she would take all the Westerners or non-Indians from shopping, she would be very particular that you don't get cheated. Is that something you experienced? Was she there protecting you in that sense also? Or maybe not. Okay.
Vivek, I'd like to ask you one thing. I know you
Yeah.
have asked each one of us our stories. Why
Please.
don't you
Yeah.
share your story,
Go ahead. Go
how you
ahead.
entered into Sahaja Yoga? What
Yeah.
hooked you to start meditating?
Oh, me. I will talk about myself later. It's not such a big story. I guess you are the star of the show today. So,
No, it
um,
helps. I mean, as a team, I think it definitely helps to connect. So
I
even
see.
2 lines are great.
Okay, fair enough. So my experience with Sahaja Yoga is a little, I would say, strange because my parents started the practice back in 1997 when I was 4 years old.
Oh,
But so this is from the viewpoint of someone who now has someone in their house already practicing Sahaja Yoga, which in all these other cases was not the case. So, but in the beginning, I felt that to children in India, especially, people don't explain too many things. Like, you are just expected to listen and obey and do. So, so Sahaja Yoga for me in the beginning was something like a ritual. Basically, you get up in the morning, sit there in front of the photograph and go to school, basically. But it was only around when I was 14 or 15, really, that I really started wanting to learn about what I have been doing all these years.
mm.
Um, and so that's when I started getting deeper and deeper into it. And it has been a wonderful journey. The heights of spiritual experience that I've experienced is probably is better reserved for another time. But I have had some wonderful and like magnificent experiences through Sahaja Yoga, despite never having met Shri Mataji, I can always feel her presence with me, as if she's there all the time. So it does not really matter. I mean, sometimes you do feel that, oh, I was born at the wrong time, perhaps. Or maybe I should have been born at the time when, there might have been some chance of personally interacting with Shri Mataji. But then you realize that she's always there with you. So I had this profound experience at the time of her passing, which was in 2011, where the entire world, like all Sahaja yogis in the world, were in various states of grief and mourning the passing of Shri Mataji. And I remember feeling very sad at that on that day when I heard the news. Very sad, like as if someone in my family had passed away. So I was sitting in front of Shri Mataji's photograph, just downcast and just wondering, oh, what is going to happen to the world? And so there was a voice that came from within me, which said that, you fool, what are you crying about? I am everywhere. Where can I go? And the moment that voice came, all my grief just went away. And then that certainty just has stuck in my heart since then, that, Shri Mataji is there always. Who am I grieving for? Yeah, so there have been other such experiences as well. But maybe we could talk a little more about yours, because you met her in person. And that's something that the element is missing now for us. So out of curiosity, so Shri Mataji always had a great visions for the world, right? She always had this global vision that humanity as a whole should get self-realization. So in that regard, she also had certain views at what role USA would play, America would play, or like North America would play. So could you give us a little bit of information about that, about what Shri Mataji personally felt the role of America would be in that?
I think personally, America has a power, to make sure they are the one who could be really truly diplomats or lead the countries in a place where there is a peace established around the world, if they truly desire it. This is a land of Vishuddhi, so they have that power to control and make sure that the entire countries, whoever are suffering, they could lend a hand to make sure their help is provided, or the peace could be established. But it also comes from the people who are staying in that country. It's not alone the people who are at power. So unless and until we, all the Americans who are staying in this country, have the desire, pure desire of attaining this power and contributing in that end to establish peace, it would not happen. So yes, it has to play that role. And in some way, it is exercising and trying at different ends through various leaders, some of them good, some of them yet to be there. But I think it's all of us. Unless and until we try to do it within ourselves, it would not go to that level. So this is something which I saw through Sahaja Yoga meditation, that it is true transformation, whether it's your day-to-day life, whether it's interacting in your professional life or with your friends. I think that the amount of purity, the love which you have in the heart, which comes primarily when you start meditating, it completely transforms the person. You are not looking for some mean end, like as you all shared, the gifts which Shri Mataji used to distribute. I did not have a personal chance of meeting her, but I had attended public programs. At that time, I was just only feeling some vibration, not truly understanding what Sahaja Yoga is. But now when I do, I feel like, why did I not go deeper earlier? Why didn't I get that chance earlier? So here I am with so many deeper yogis, and maybe that's a chance to learn from each one of you. And that is the journey, and to share to each one of other friends who are still looking, to attain that peace, to attain that moment of silence.
Actually, Linda can talk about how a great saint goes shopping, and I can give even something that was purchased by Shri Mataji, and then she gave this to me. But Linda can tell the story of how I got this as a gift, and how everybody got a gift that was very similar.
Well, so yeah, I mean, this is actually, what was it, in 1999 or was it 2000? It was the year Shri Mataji came, and there was also a performance of the Magic Flute that was put on by all Sahaja Yogis. I think it was maybe 2000. so people came from all over the world, actually, primarily Europe, but other places, to perform this. Mozart was a realized soul. And so she was very happy. And I mean, we could do a whole session on Sahaja Yoga and the arts. And of course, all of you are experiencing that through all the music and the live performances that we're sharing, is that she was such a benefactor and appreciator of the arts. And she did encourage so many musicians all over the world, and all of us also who had some, even bit of talent. She would really encourage us to go with it. Me included, actually. I lack confidence as a musician, but she said, no, you must continue. So, but so in this year, there was this cast of literally, it was 80 people who came over, plus all the production. They built the stages and everything. And so and Mark was doing graphic design and designed like the poster and the t-shirt and all. So for that role, Shri Mataji gave this painting. But the way she got these paintings, one day she went into New York City, and if you've ever been there, you'll see on the sidewalk sometimes, in this case, there was an artist. He had about 100 of his oil paintings there on the sidewalk, just all laid out.
Most of them much larger than this.
Yeah. Well, or different sizes. They were all different sizes. And he was, I think, Russian, Eastern European of some background like that. So this was typical Shri Mataji. She looked at it. She knew she had to get presents for all of the people she always would get presents for anyone who did work to support her work. So she, in one fell swoop, she told this poor starving artist, she said, I'll take everything. She bought all of his paintings and gave them to the Sahaja yogis who had been involved in the production. So it was just, she would just take the efficiency of her actions, the surprising generosity, she would do things that were so dramatically marvelous. It would be breathless at what she would do. That was so. I mean, another example, she established a home for destitute women outside Delhi. And because she felt very much for these women who had to leave their husbands. They, were really in trouble, and they had children. So, if you imagine, what would a place like this look like? I mean, it was very generous of her to do this. So she built the place. And you really must see this. Maybe we'll find a photo to share with everyone. It looks like a palace.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, it is so beautiful. It is white. It is, I don't know, maybe made of, I'm not sure what it's made of, but there's a center atrium with a beautiful, place to meditate. These large, grand rooms. I mean, that was her. It really, to me, I was just so amazed. And I mean, not amazed, but just it fits with her, how she was, is that she would never think of creating something that wasn't beautiful for every single human being, including these destitute women. So, her vision for the whole world is like that we should be the best we can be.
Wow. And yeah, Shri Mataji often, she has designed and built many other houses as well. And each of them is like a stunning piece of architecture and design. And not to mention the component of vibrations, because it is designed in a way that allows the vibrations to flow much better. For those of you interested, material things also have certain coefficients with the vibrations. So the way you design things can emit vibrations better or respond to them better. And then she has also done that. And it's just her outpouring of creativity over the years is just it's a spectacle to watch, the way.
All the years that she would go shopping, and some of us had the chance to accompany her on her shopping, and she would go to suiting shops and clothing shops and Costco, and all of the shopping, 100%, was all for gifts.
For other people.
Mhm.
She never shopped for herself.
For herself. No. That's true.
Wow. That's
And then we would be in India at Christmas time, and all of the children that had come to the program, Shmaji had a gift for every child.
Many
So
of them
it's
robotic.
like to use like small
Yeah.
material things.
Mhm.
And then some of them would immediately start using them right there in front of her. They start coloring or whatever they were doing. But the way that she showed us that matter is a way to express love.
Mhm.
And the gifts were always so, each person I ever talked to who got a gift, including myself, it was like the most perfect thing. Like she would give a little paint set to a little kid, you know, and all of a sudden they would realize, oh, I must paint. You know? So
I remember a funny story because I don't know. So there is one person, Linda Williams, I believe, who has compiled the recollections of all the yogis over the years with Shri Mataji. There is like 10 volumes or something of it. And suddenly I'm reminded of this event where, as you mentioned, that the gift was appropriate for the person. One person who had a beard, like I do, he got a shaving set as a gift. And he took that as a hint that, you know, the beard didn't suit him. So the humor with which Shri Mataji would play is also something to watch. It never derided a person, but would always enhance them and would make them see the situation in a different way, and that would break their ego or whatever belief they had about themselves would be broken in the most, like, you know, the diplomatic manner. So it's really amazing to like get a look at all that that has happened over the years, and we are really very honored to be able to share all these or listen to you sharing all these experiences with us. But we still have to respect the boundaries of time. So we have to call this session close. But before we end, maybe we can open the floor to some questions, because you shared a lot and people would have some questions. So maybe we could do that. So if participants have a question for the panel tonight, not related to chakras or anything, but about what they have shared tonight, please do raise your hand and we can try to answer them. This will be a very short session, so we don't want it to extend too long. So Victoria has her hand up. All right, Victoria, great to see you. Day 17, you're still here.
Oh, yes, it's such beautiful stories. I just wanted to tell you that with your resources page that I was investigating last night, I stumbled onto the celebration for Shri Mataji's birthday that was being live streamed, and the story they were telling of her beginnings in her life. And they recited a beautiful poem that she had created when she was 7 years old, that I didn't know when they had a child speaking it. And I didn't know at the time that it was her creation. And I was just marveling at this incredibly high feeling prayer, poetic prayer that the child was speaking. And then it announced that was her poem. And my question is, so from what I'm understanding, her parents understood that Shri Mataji was born as I don't know what the word is, an incarnation of Adi Shakti.
That's it. Mm-hmm. They did understand it that way.
They recognized her at birth, that she had an amazing mission to accomplish in the world. And so her father especially gave her advice that you need to study psychology and medicine so that you can translate the pure knowledge into words like unconscious and the plexuses and things like that, so that she could then speak to us in our modern English about very subtle spiritual things. And that way we could then sit next to her, understand what she was saying, and then we can put our hands out and accept that maybe we're going to feel something quite extraordinary. It's going to change our lives. But her father understood that, for people to even get near to you and receive your love, you're going to have to be able to say things like, the collective consciousness, like use the words even of Jung and things like that.
Did her family, I heard the story of her mother asking to go into the wilderness, and she saw this tiger that she recognized as pregnant, and she wouldn't allow them to shoot it for sport. So was that one of the ways that they knew that this child was special, that the mother was carrying at that time, or was it astrological ways that they knew? Do you know how all the ways are that they knew that she was special coming before she was born or as she was being born?
The tiger has a special significance in Indian mythology, that it relates to the goddess. It relates to an aspect of the goddess, which is like a warrior goddess and a protective mother. So I think that her mother seeing the tiger gave her an intuition and, just a strong inner feeling that, that there was a goddess aspect to Shri Mataji, and, which I think, because of that symbology, I think that's what that represented to her. That's my understanding.
And I think it was very extremely unusual to see a tiger where they were. I mean, it was completely, so it was sort of came as an omen, they felt.
Yeah, it was an omen, yeah.
And also, Victoria, if you really understand the subtleties of astrology and you read the astrological description of Shri Mataji's birth, then there's astrologers who instantly just bow down. I mean, they're like, this is describing somebody who is here to change the world.
Can I find out her astrology? I'd love to read it.
Absolutely, yeah.
You can, yeah.
Just Google it, you'll find it actually.
What would I search?
Shri Mataji astrology, you'll find it.
Shri Mataji's birth astrology.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. That's wonderful, because I do understand some things about that, and was just talking with a friend who's an astrologer today, like maybe we could find out about her chart.
Sure, you can.
Okay.
So speaking of astrology, there is a very interesting set of coincidences on about the time at which Shri Mataji was born. So she was born on 21st March, which is the day of the equinox, right? When the night and day are of equal lengths. And then she was born in a city or a town in India, which is really at the center of the subcontinent. It's right there in the center.
What's the name of the town?
It's called
Chhindwara.
maybe the tech team could type it out because it's a
It's
difficult.
called Chhindwara in Madhya Pradesh. It's a state in India, and the city name is Chhindwara.
Okay, great.
There it is.
And she was born on a Wednesday, which is the middle of the week, just again in the center. And then she was born at 12 noon, the middle of the day.
I remember hearing that, and I thought that's pretty significant. High
And,
noon on the equinox.
Yeah, high noon on the equinox and on the Tropic of Cancer, exactly on that line. And it shares the same latitude with Mecca as well. So it's
Same latitude as who?
as Mecca is the place where Muslims.
As Mecca.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's
That-
very significant. Her birth is very significant.
Wow. Thank you for all that.
So yes, would anyone else we can have maybe a couple more questions and then we call it a night. Would anyone else like to ask something? Yes,
May I
Batul
ask a
has her
question?
hand up. Batul, please go ahead. But it's Batul's birthday today also.
Oh, happy birthday.
21st of March.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Happy birthday.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, actually, I didn't get chance to see her because I knew her just for 6 months. And we have a group.
Having difficulty understanding you, Batul. Maybe could you speak a little farther away from the mic? It looks like you're too close to it.
Oh, yes. Is that okay now?
Slightly better, maybe.
Yeah. I did get chance to see her, but we have a group meditation, Sahaja Yoga, and one of the members one night she asked why we have to put her photograph in front of us. And she was in the morning after that, she was asking this question during my meditation. Because I am a medium and I'm clairvoyant, and she came to a meditation, and Shri Mataji, she said, you don't need to put my picture. It's not necessary to put my picture in front of you when you're doing meditation. And the reason of the picture is when you're looking at me once, my picture is in your mind always. And when you look at the red circle in my forehead, I don't know what is it called. And when you look at it, your third eye would be activated and would be open.
Yeah.
And she told me this, and the other thing she said to our leader of the group, tell her that I'm always with her and thank her. That was, she was talking to me. It was interesting for me.
Okay. So I could get some of what you said, which is that someone told you that keeping Shri Mataji's photograph in front of you and looking at it is good for this chakra here, right? And that is correct. But in the beginning, and you also mentioned that someone told you that there is no need to use the photograph because...
No, not someone. Shri Mataji herself.
She herself...
In my meditation, I'm a medium.
In your meditation?
She told me all these things that I thought.
I see.
Yes, it has
Okay. So in the beginning, fair enough. In the beginning, we do recommend that you keep the photograph there. But again, it's if you feel that you don't have to, then it's your personal freedom. We can't really go against that. But we would also say that Shri Mataji, if you feel that Shri Mataji has said this to you personally, then it may be just relevant to you because we still have to cater to so many other people, right? So otherwise, we usually have the photograph because it is the source of the vibrations.
She said it's up to you. It's not like by force.
I see. Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So we'll then, I think we should call it a night now. So it was really, really enjoyable for me to listen to all these wonderful people we have on tonight. And
thank you.
Thank you for coming, Peter. And I know we could not really take your questions tonight. I hope you had a chance to go to one of the breakout rooms. If you did not, please leave your questions on the WhatsApp group. We'll try to answer it there. So tomorrow we are going to be looking at this sixth center here, and we'll also announce the details of the intermediate course tomorrow. So that's going to be important. And that's about it. So don't forget to dispose your foot soap water, and we'll all see you tomorrow. So good night, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, everybody.